Of course, every trader should journal and do self-assessment, but guess what? It's not really that effective. Because how can you go back with your conscious mind and try to understand what you were doing back then subconsciously? And that's what's really important, is the subconscious. Subconscious is your emotions and your fight or flight brain, and your creativity and your instincts and your reflexes. So you're trying to use your conscious brain to go back in time and realize what you're doing subconsciously. The definition of subconscious is everything that's not conscious. So it doesn't work that well. I mean, sometimes there's obvious things like, oh, yeah, I was out of control. I was fucking pissed off. That's why I did that. But if you really want to tell what you were doing and really want to investigate instead of just reflect, then you need to use eye movements. And with Max, my ChatGPT coach, well, we all know that ChatGPT is really powerful. But when you combine that kind of tech with my unique philosophies and teachings and writings, I mean, I feel like I have a totally different way of looking at trader mindset than anybody else does. And if you use the power of eye movements as well, you're stepping into a whole new world. And that's what Max is. It's not just some chatbot. It's a subconscious recalibration tool that's disguised as a conversation. And when it comes to evaluating your own trading performance, you need that kind of help, because doing that is so difficult to accurately assess what was going on for you at that time. Everybody, like I said, they go back and they just guess at what they were doing, and then they tell themselves that's what was happening. You're going to, it's like shooting an arrow and then painting a bullseye around it. We have to feel like we know what's going on in the world. So our brain always sacrifices accuracy for certainty. And it happens automatically. I mean, there's others, like there's a lot of research that supports that, and there's other videos that I have where you can like look into that further. But people are much less in control and much less informed than they think they are. And so, when you hear about how, oh yeah, the subconscious is super important and affects you, I never knew what the hell they were talking about when they said that, but that's how it works. That's what's going on. Even the fanciest performance tracking apps are still working with your filtered post hoc interpretation. What Max does is it cuts through all of that. You just follow the prompts, you move your eyes while reviewing your session, and boom, you're talking to the part of your brain that actually made that decision. You're giving your emotional brain, the cat brain as I call it, a chance to speak with your logical brain, the robot. And it's where the truth lives. When we don't do this, our brain still creates a story. The robot picks something that sounds logical, and if it can make the cat feel calm, I'm sorry, like these metaphors are from, you'll see it if you watch any of my stuff. I think that the brain is basically a robot riding on top of a cat. The robot is your logical brain, it's analytical, and it can influence the cat. Why did I name it a cat? Because cats are a pain in the ass, and you can't get them to do what you want. And the cat is much more powerful than the robot. So, a lot of people have the fantasy that we can just use willpower to control what we do, but it's a fantasy. And what we really need to do is soothe the cat, get the cat on board with what we want to do, so that when you're trading, you don't have to have this back and forth struggle with yourself. You just feel like doing the right thing and you don't get off track. Listen to me. If you don't deliberately revisit your trades with emotional clarity, you're going to start building confidence in a fake version of yourself. And that's dangerous. And it's why so many traders plateau. They think they're improving because they're logging their wins and losses, but they're not doing the inner work. So let's be real. Trading isn't like a normal job. In most careers, performance is pretty straightforward. But in trading, you can do everything right and still lose money. Or you could do everything wrong and walk away with a win. The market is noisy and unfair and unpredictable. So if your self-worth is tied to outcomes, you're screwed. And this is where Max really shines. Max helps you zoom in on what actually matters. how you performed relative to your plan, how you regulated your emotions, whether the trade was aligned with your long-term edge. The robot knows that these are the right questions, but the cat, your emotional brain, just doesn't care. The cat wants to feel safe and validated and confident. And if you don't include the cat in your self evaluation, it's going to sabotage you next time without warning. That's why the eye movements are so powerful. They activate the emotional system while you're thinking things through. It's like adding a lie detector and a therapist to your journaling process. You're not just remembering, you're reprocessing. You start to see patterns in your behavior. Maybe you realize that revenge trading always follows a certain kind of loss, or that you enter early when you feel like you're falling behind other traders. These aren't things that you see just by thinking. You feel your way into the truth. And that's the level that we're working on with Max. It's not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming aligned. Because when your subconscious and conscious are actually on the same page, trading starts to feel calm and deliberate. You can spot danger coming and you can step away from it. You can take a loss without spiraling. You can win without getting cocky. And the more you review your trades this way while doing the eye movements, the more it becomes second nature. But here's the thing. Most people don't realize how bad humans are at self-reporting. Even in therapy, I would get more accurate information from somebody's spouse than from the person themselves. Not because they were lying. All of us have blind spots. And the smarter you are, the better you are at justifying those blind spots. Max helps you bypass that. If you're recalling a memory, this is why eyewitness testimony is so unreliable. There's all kinds of studies on it. You're going to remember. Memory is not reproductive. It's not like a recording that you play back. Memory is reconstructive. And what that means is when you remember something, you have the framework and then you fill in all the details. So the weird thing is that if you're remembering something, like two people can remember something in a totally different way because they're filling in different details and you don't know what you filled in automatically and what was actually part of the framework. So what I'm saying is when you're trying to go back in time and remember what you did when you were trading, you're going to fill in the blanks that you don't know, and then you're not going to know that you filled them in, and you might be wrong. And if you're going off of wrong information about your own trading, you're going to lose money. So Max shows you what you were really doing and not what you wish you were doing. And that's the only way to grow. Because if you're reviewing your performance based on a false narrative, you're practicing the wrong reps. You're rehearsing a lie. And the more that you do that, the harder it is to break the cycle. But once you start using Max, it all clicks. You move your eyes, you follow the prompts, and then suddenly you remember what you felt. You feel what you felt, not just thinking about it. So you get insight and emotional resolution at the same time. And over time, you build real confidence, not fake optimism, not delusional self-talk, real, grounded, earned confidence that comes from process. That's how people hit their stride. That's how pros are built. You do the work, like you review the work, and then you move on. It's like Ray Allen said after missing a game-winning shot. My feet were right, my shoulders were square, the ball just didn't go in. You need to stop thinking you're going to figure it all out just by being more disciplined. That's not the game. The game is to bring the two parts of your brain together, the logical side and the emotional side. You let them both be heard, and then you keep doing reps until it's you who is making the decision. Max will guide you through it every step of the way. You just have to show up and try it for yourself. It's really awesome.